Time being 6 o'clock, bring this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Close.
Here.
Healy.
Here.
Swenson.
Here.
Kettering.
Here.
Fleming.
Here. This time, do any commissioners have a reason to abstain for a financial or non-financial conflict of interest?
No.
No. No. No.
No. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
And we will, the one item, for Eric Yankton, he will not be talking about the item 15.
Item 15 is deleted. Are there any other additions or corrections at this time?
I would like to add, when I was reviewing the minutes from our last meeting where Lori Mackey gave her annual report, we approved the tax abatement, but we never approved her report. So I think that somewhere on our agenda, we need to make a motion to approve her report. So whether that's down around 21A, and also we need to set a date for the appeal process for all of the taxes that just went out for this year. So we need to discuss that as well. So would 21A be okay with that? Or would you like to add it somewhere else?
Let's do it at like 19A, and then 19B. Would that work?
That's fine. 19A.
19's ditch board.
Oh, okay. You're right. 20, we'll do 20, 20A, and 20B.
Okay.
Will that work for you?
That's fine.
Any other additions or corrections at this time? Entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the changes.
So moved. Oh.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from February 19th, 22nd, 20th, and 25th.
You mean approve them all at once? I move approval of all 3 minutes.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Next item on the agenda, item 6, public comment. Somebody grab the sheet of paper. Anybody sign up?
I think that's Patty.
First person is Patty Davis. Welcome.
Good afternoon. I'm Patty Davies, Mission Hill Township, and I really want to thank you for getting the microphones fixed. I've sit in the back of the room, and we heard every word you've said so far, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Patty. Next person is Will Douglas. Welcome, sir. You have 3 minutes.
All right, and this is a surprise to me because I had somebody else coming. So I'm here, I know, to talk about Prevailing Wind Park, but what else was on the agenda? I apologize. I was here as a substitute.
We do have an agenda item, Prevailing Wind Park with Scott Creesh. Is that when you're supposed
Right, correct. Yeah, and so we will be starting construction soon. I can give you a little update if that's what it's for.
Are you part of the group that's going to be speaking at 6:10?
You can't speak until 6:10
Yeah.
about it. It's,
Yeah.
You'll be on
Yeah.
the agenda. This is
This-
just general public comment for,
Oh, okay. Well, Will Douglas, I'm part of the project manager, sorry.
We'll call you up in about 10 minutes.
10-4.
Thank you, Will.
Thank you.
Any other public comments at this time? All right, I'll close public comment. I do have a statement I'd like to read here. This weekend, and while I was at the VFW, I had a number of veterans come up and approach me and ask me to address a situation. And so I'm going to do so right now. Dear Yankton County, it has come to my attention that a certain individual has been conducting Nazi salutes at public meetings. I'd like everyone to know, as a combat veteran and a private citizen, I disapprove of this hatred behavior. Most of our World War II veterans are now gone. And is this how we honor the memories and the sacrifices of our greatest generation? What do you think the men who stormed Omaha Beach or parachuted into France on D-Day would say of this kind of behavior in Yankton? What do you think of the 276,655 servicemen and women who were killed in the European theater of operations? What would they think? And what do you think the 1,426 South Dakotans killed in World War II would think of this behavior? I doubt they would approve. The Nazis are responsible for over 20 million deaths, the largest crime in the history of the world. And for someone to imitate their behavior in this room for any reason is absolutely unforgivable. As a community, we can do better. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Could I add something to that?
Yes, go ahead, Gary.
I'm also a Vietnam era veteran. I contact with many veterans in Yankton. A lot of Korean War. There's actually some World War II left. One of them I've known since 1974. He's 95 years old, and he was appalled by what he heard. He's not able to come to the meetings anymore. There's several Korean veterans the same way, appalled. My family, my wife and I, we've got veterans from the Civil War to Iraq and Afghanistan. And if some of those guys could be alive today, I think there'd be a few scuffles. But anyway, I also feel the same way about it. It's not appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Next item on the agenda, item number 7, claims.
move to approve claims.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Next item on the agenda, February payroll.
Move approval of the February payroll.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Next item on the agenda, approve forming of the Rainbow Road District.
just to approve the petition. We have to have an election first to approve the road district, so. But
Okay.
I just need approval of the petition, and the signatures are okay.
What was the minimum number of signatures they had to have?
It's a majority of
Okay.
the people that are in the road
Majority.
district.
I move approval of the petition.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Next item on the agenda, item number 8, construction of a generation tie-in Prevailing Wind Park LLC. Welcome, sir. Introduce yourself and tell us about your project.
Yes, I'm Scott Creech. I have with me Will Douglas, We work for S-Power, the owner of the Prevailing Wind Park LLC project out north of Avon, west of Tripp. With Yankton County, we're running a generation tie line from down Highway 46 entering into Yankton County and running about 4 miles down to the Utica substation, which will be our off-taker point. We appeared before this commission in December with this Appendix E, the utility portion, and asked for you guys to look at that. You looked at it, approved it, signed it off, and then we went to peer and appeared before the PUC committee. And as they were studying our project, they asked a lot of questions, and they asked if any of the local utilities had been notified prior to us appearing at this commissioners meeting. And our answer was no, and of course they asked us why not, and we felt like we would address all of that through the 811 process as we were building our project. And we do and are in communication with a lot of the other utilities. So to adhere to the PUC's request, we've had Ms. Hojum send out notices within 10 days before the, was that wrong?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, I'll get it right next time, all right? I'm sorry. So we had the notices sent out 10 days prior to this meeting. We're appearing before you again and asking you to re-sign this if there are no other utilities here with comments.
Are there any other utilities here who'd like to speak on this time? Yes. Do you guys want to take a seat and let her address? Welcome. Please state your name for the record.
My name is Stephanie Horst, and I'm the general manager of Bonham Yankton Electric Cooperative, and we have been in works with S-Power, and we have a good working relation, and we aren't opposed to any.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any of the commissioners have any questions?
So is this just to check the box per se, or do we actually need to make a motion and reapprove what was already approved?
We would appreciate you making a motion and voting on it again and signing it with notary signature.
Okay. And do you have that document here? Okay.
I'm looking over the road use agreement. How much extra truck traffic do you expect from an operation like this?
Within Yankton County, we're building the substation, so I'm gonna guess we'll have 80 truckloads of material that will come in there.
Okay.
We are improving an existing no-maintenance county road to deliver that material up to. And then there'll be utility poles spaced every 200, 300 feet for the 4 miles that
Okay.
wiggle into the county off of Highway 46.
So I understand now that road it's really not even a road. You guys are going to build a road. And then are you guys going to maintain that road after that?
We can maintain
Okay.
that road, yes.
I guess I am apprehensive about the county taking on any. Mike, you want to take on some more roads? That road is pretty much going to be utilized by yourself. It's not a through road.
At your
Yeah.
facility, right?
Yes, it dead ends there. That was part of the road use agreement, and
Okay.
this is the part of the electrical Appendix E agreement, so.
Okay.
It's two separate issues,
Sure.
but yes, we're going to take care of
You're
that
going to take
road.
care of that road? All right.
We're delivering millions of dollars worth of equipment, a very high voltage transformer. So we're going to make that road good enough that we can deliver that equipment safely and
Great.
securely.
Did you have something to
Yeah,
go ahead?
out in that, not too far from that area, there was a similar situation, and the mudders and the hunters keep that road pretty well screwed up in that area. I'm wondering if it wouldn't be advantageous, since they're gonna fix the road, for us to vacate the road and then let them control the access to the road if they want.
We control what access we want at the gate of our substation.
Okay.
It is a locked and secured facility, cameras and.
Don't come to us then whining about ruts that deep in that road.
Okay. All right. We won't come to you whining about that.
That's a good point,
You were
Don.
warned.
Good.
It's a good point.
I've seen it done both ways, and as the project manager, we're pretty amicable to work out whatever we need to. We normally, wherever we go, wherever both of us have gone, we tend to work pretty well with the road
It's
superintendent.
whatever you guys want.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Maybe we'll come back to you later asking to secure that road at the county road, but at this point in time, we're not prepared to ask or discuss that, okay?
Okay. Any other questions from any of the commissioners?
So you'll just assure us that you'll reclaim it and it'll look pretty much like it did before?
No, it's going to
Speed
stay a
better.
nice road.
Yeah.
After 30 years.
After 30 years, if you want that gravel taken off, we will take that gravel off.
No, I just said if it'll look nice. You know.
Oh, it'll look much nicer than what it looks today.
Okay.
Okay.
And there's provisions for us maintaining it in our O&M.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments from any of the commissioners?
I move approval of the request for Prevailing Wind Park.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Kettering,
Yes.
Los,
Yes.
Healy,
Yes.
Swanson,
Yes.
Lemus.
Yes. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
Can I pick this up tomorrow or?
Sure.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. Next item on the agenda is plats for the Law Overlook Conodal. Are you handling that, Brian, the plats, or do we just approve them for the plats? I think they're pretty self-explanatory for the plats. You want me to sign this? You said that. Okay. Any questions on the plats? Like these traditionally have been through the consent agenda, so
Yeah,
they're
and
pretty
we've looked at
straightforward.
the law overlook one recently, adding lots 2 and 3 and 4, I believe. But it's all, the road's plenty wide, he has turnaround and everything they need there, so.
Entertain a motion for approval of the Law Overlook Conodal plot.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Bay Cliff Estates Chuka plat.
And there again, I think these were all preliminary platted out and reviewed, and
Yep.
So I move approval of the Bay Cliff Estates Chuka plot.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Next item on the agenda, item number 10, approval of the 2019 supply bids. Mr.
Mr.
Sablachi.
Chairman?
Yes.
Just 1 minute. Okay, never mind, it's on a later item.
Okay. Welcome, Mike.
I guess I'm looking for approval on the 2019 supply bids. Everybody that's on the list, I guess, do you want me to go through the list?
Yeah, why don't you go through some of these?
Bridge decking, box culverts, the company is Forterra. Steel culverts, True North Steel. Magnesium chloride, be the dust control, would be ZNS dust control. Chip sealing and fog sealing, the road guy, he was low bid on that this year. Last year it was Top Coat. They both do quality work. It's the road guy got him this year, so.
Spread it around.
Yep.
Right, yep.
Crushed quartzite, 3/8 P-rock concrete materials. Gasoline, diesel for all three shops. Country Pride, which is now CHS. Asphalt oil, Jebro. Road sealant, Brock White out of Sioux Falls. Asphalt, concrete materials. Aggregate base stabilizer would be Team Laboratory. Like I said, them are all companies that we've used in the past. So.
Now, I know Mr. Kettering had a question on the difference in the gas. Didn't you have it when we opened the bids? Didn't you want Mike to look at something? Am I remembering right?
Yeah, well, I remember there was something, but I don't remember.
I didn't write down what his question was, but there was, I hate to say it was about quality, but.
Oh, it was about the gas, I think, if it was E10, which it's always been E10. So.
Right, so, so which of those did you pick on the gas overall? Was Country Pride.
Country Pride? Yep.
Low bid?
They were low bid.
Did you have something, Don, you'd like? Okay.
Previous years, do you usually get a look at these? Have you?
Prior to this year? Yeah. No, I haven't. I dug up last year's and compared, and prices are real close. So.
Okay. I just
not on the fuel apparently, but on other.
Right. I'm just curious. Outside of chip sealing and fuel, there's only single bidders on the rest of the items. I was curious if that's typical or.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff last year, I noticed there was only one bid.
Okay.
I'll move approval of accepting the bids as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion.
I'd like to ask Mike a question about dust control.
Go ahead, Gary.
I've had a lot of people ask me, one lady said, my neighbor gets dust control 2-3 times a year. I've lived here 35 years, never had any. One guy I talked to, my neighbor said, we used to have to pay for it. And I got a lot of confused people. Can you help me out so I can give them some answers, and these people too?
Well, the dust control is mainly on high traffic areas that were causing a lot of grading issues, you know, and the dust apparently, but and the process is only done once a year. I think last year, if I recall, we didn't even do dust control last year, and there was no complaints. Well, there was a few complaints, but it was nothing bad. It was so wet last year, we couldn't, you know.
Sure.
So.
All right. We have.
You don't specifically charge people for it?
No, we don't.
Or what if they asked for it? Can they have it done at a charge?
Well, they would have to call the contractor.
Oh, but they would have to go through you?
Right.
Yeah.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Thank you, Mike.
Next thing, I just want to throw in quick. I've been talking to a neighboring county. They have purchased a new paver, and I guess I'd be interested in possibly trying to purchase theirs. It's mid-2000s, if I remember right. I guess their asking price is $40,000. Our paver, does it work? Yes. Yes, it does, but you don't know when it's going to leave you hanging. We've stuck a bunch of money into it, replacing hoses and stuff, and when all the steel lines are breaking, it's an electrical nightmare. it works for, and the automatics don't work, so like if we want quality, it works for patching, but if we want to do a eighth of mile stretch or something somewhere, it'd be best to do it right.
My understanding is this has just been gone through, this machine.
Yes, and they had the automatics gone through, and I left the list at the shop, but yeah, there was, it went through Butler and they went through the whole thing, so I guess 10 miles ago. So it's got 10 miles of paving on everything that's been gone through, so.
And what did they spend on their brand new one?
Honestly, I couldn't give you a hard answer, but a couple years ago when we were looking at buying a new one here, you were looking at minimum of $300,000.
Can you get some estimates for us?
On a new?
For a new one, yeah.
Okay. I was just looking at,
I'm sure they're like a car, they get accessories and bells and whistles.
right. I was just looking at down the road right now, if we spend $40,000 and it gets us through 10 years, that's pretty cheap rent. It would do us great. It's the same paver that we used on 301 this last year. We borrowed a neighbor's paver and pretty much the same machine. So,
How many miles do we plan on paving this year?
miles? Get your checkbook out, I guess.
Did you ask them if you could rent their new one?
No.
Well, who did, or did we have the neighboring county do 301?
We did 301, but we only paved the intersections
Oh, sure.
and the hills, so.
Yeah.
Right now, there's no hard number on paving other than what needs to be repaired right now, you know. That's something in the future I'd possibly like to, you know, we could pick out a few miles here and there. And
One thing we should probably do is look and see what you had budgeted for capital this year. I know we still have a piece of equipment we need to pay for.
Yep.
That we just purchased and such, and maybe at the next meeting we can evaluate that a little bit more.
Yep. Because I'm working on,
Is there a time frame on when they might get
no,
rid of it?
not as of right now, I guess. He didn't say
They
anything.
give you a hold on it or something?
Yep.
Is
Get
it-
anything out of ours?
I guess Gerard's auction, I guess.
Gerard or Weedman?
I suppose. It's hard to say what it's worth, you know.
But get us some more information and
Yep.
bring that back to us, and we'll have to see what we have left in the budget for that.
Yep.
So, any other questions for Mike, from the commission? Thank you very much. You can stick around for the next one, too. Next item we have is item number 11. We're going to have a discussion of the Stone Church Bridge and Fleets Bridge. As a community, we're going to be applying for a bridge improvement grant. And Don, would you give us some history on this? You guys had originally planned on a replacement of the Fleets Bridge.
We did.
Okay. Could you give us, so we keep some continuity? That was because of daily traffic,
Well, I
correct?
think 4 years ago, the previous commission put $1 million at the end of the year funds into the budget for Fleets Bridge. All we did during the 4 years was rip-rap and because what figures that we had were 11 million to replace it, and we didn't have the money, so.
Yeah.
With this lower price, it makes it a different.
Yeah, it does.
Quite a different story. But we saw the demonstration, the bridge is probably all 4 need to be replaced over the next 10 years or so. I think my thought, and it's been this all the time, I think we need to take a close look at whether we want to maintain 4 bridges over the Jim River, and whether we want to adopt the suggestion for 2 corridor roads east and west of 81 and a corridor road north of 50 and south of 46. Because if we do that, it probably makes a difference on traffic patterns.
Yeah, I would say so.
If you look at so small I can't read it, it's 406, Mike, that's a north and south road, 406. Goes it from Highway 50 up to the Turner County.
448.
448. You look at 448, for example, Fliggs Bridge may not even be necessary if you put a good road down to 50 and utilize 50.
Yeah.
The issue is we can't maintain all of them.
Yep.
And if we did those corridors, I added up to be some place under probably 70 miles or 75 miles that we'd have that we'd be attentive to primary maintenance.
I know when Clark Engineering was here, they said that if we apply for a grant now and we get approved, it doesn't necessarily have to be for that structure. We could change it. I think the important thing is that we start the process.
You're
And,
right.
and why we're doing, we should really do them both simultaneously. Let's apply for one, and I really like your idea. I'd like to hear more about that. And if we have to readjust, that's fine, because even if we got approved tomorrow, it's going to be 3 years before we get the funding, and a lot can happen in
I think
3
last
years,
year,
so.
and Brian, you know, I think we got approved for $850,000 out of about $16 million. So we got pretty good percentage of the bucket. I don't know if we could expect to get that every year, but
Yeah.
you know what they're having the state budget this year for bridge improvements?
They added another 8, I think, this year.
So it could be 24 million.
8 or 12, I think they added. They pulled some funds from somewhere and put it into the big grants.
But if I were, I guess if I were, the traffic flow shows 2,300 people on Fliggs Bridge and, 300 up north. And if you look at the flow, they all can, up north can avoid both the Colony Bridge and Stone Church Bridge and get over to 81 or come south through Lesterville and around.
Okay.
Now, I think this needs to be a really a larger discussion and focus on 20 years. And the reason I say that is we have an ethanol plant that's kind of hanging out there, and I've not heard too much more about it. But if that comes through, that changes a lot of things, because that's a huge amount of trucks that come into our county. Because what did we say? It needed 52 million bushels of corn, and we grow 16 million. So it either comes in on rail or it comes in on truck. So I'm with Don. We need to start having a conversation about where we start putting our money. And I don't think we can make a decision sitting here today to apply for a grant that we're not sure what we're applying the grant for, because I just don't feel good about doing that. I think we need to have a community conversation about what are our priorities. Is it going to be a road? Is it going to be a bridge? And then I think we need to develop a way to pay for it. Because if we're going to get a grant, you have to come up with money. And we're always short of money. So we either take it out of the highway budget from all the maintenance we already do today, or we have to start putting a little money away today as a savings account for 5 years from now when we can do a project, a real project. And hopefully we can get half the money put away for it. We get a state grant for half the money, and then in another 5 years we do another project. And then there's also the option of another tax levy. We have to talk about it. I'm not saying we need to do it, but if we don't talk about it, we can't cross it off that we looked at all of our options. So I think this is a bigger discussion. And I just got done rereading the transportation study that was done just before 2014, I think it was actually finished. And it talked about the corridor plan that Don is talking about. And they talked about 448 potentially being a corridor road. It's got some challenges if you read the fine print. There's a lot of curves in it. There's some ditches they were worried about. There's some narrowing and stuff on that road versus 444. So that we need to go back and forth with the people who live in that area and say, what's the best option? Where do you want your good road to be, and where do you want your mediocre roads to be? And then we have to follow through with the plan. But this isn't just a year plan, a 5-year plan. This is a 20-year plan to look forward and get our community prepared. Like I said, that ethanol plant changes a lot of things. And then we also have the weigh station. And nobody likes to go by the weigh station at the junction of 46 and 81. That's one reason we have all of this problem on our county roads. So that needs to come into play as well. Can we afford 4 bridges over the James? Maybe we can't, but we need to decide as a community which one don't we replace.
Do we want to, when Clark Engineering was here, I believe we have to have an answer for them later this month. And if it changes down the road, that's okay. But we can't get to April and then realize we should have approved for a bridge improvement grant. And so I think, I agree, this is part of a bigger discussion, but I also think we need to move forward. We've had some severe problems on the Fleeks Bridge with erosion and riprap, and the way the snowpack is up in Aberdeen, that's going to be another big problem. We could be one flood away from not having that bridge. So I think if we can, we need to take both approaches and be applying for this, while at the same time working out maybe there's another way. And from what I understand, we don't have to go through with a bridge improvement grant, or we could put it to Stone Church, or we could put it to another bridge. But I still think we need to have a plan, and if we have to adapt that, I think we could do that as well. So,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
a couple things. If I remember right, the way I understood it is, if we apply for a grant, we do not have to use it, and it doesn't impede us in any way for further grants. But I don't believe we can switch it to a different project based off of the big scores that they give us. Mm-hmm. I think that would come into play. So I think it would be separate applications. Okay. I know
Brian could probably clear everything up on that.
Come on up, Mike.
Mike.
Are you talking Mike or Brian?
Either one, Brian? Both.
Whoever knows more.
I do this.
Well,
Tag team, both.
I'm going to call out Mr. Polly too. He's sitting here too. He's got them answers.
Well, the one thing I think confusion is, I assume right now you're applying for PER funds. Is that where they're at? They're the initial big PER funds for hydrology studies at this point. So you're really not even looking at construction. You're years from that.
Yes.
So basically you're applying, and then your big funds are based upon multiple things. I mean, you mentioned average daily traffic count, which is not even that high of a factor when they look at it. I mean, your structure analysis is one, your rating, your detour. If you take out a bridge, how long does it get to get around and take those things into factor? So I've put in multiples of these. City of Yankton, we did 2. One of the Cedar Street got funded, the other one did not, because they're very similar, but they just did not rank. They rank differently as far as that. But right now, you're basically putting in for funds to conduct a study to do hydraulic analysis of what kind of bridge are you going to need to put there. But I don't, as far as transferring, I mean, you need to justify individual bridges. So it's not building anything. You're ways away from building anything yet. So I don't see downfall of going in and finding out what are you going to need to replace what you have. That would probably not be a bad idea. You're ways away from actually doing a structure at this point. And I think you can figure out what you can put there to replace what you have.
Mike, are there any other county bridges that are of a high priority?
On the Jim River bridges or just in
No,
general?
just in the county.
Well, there are other, I left the map out in the vehicle, but yeah, there's a few other smaller bridges, yes.
So if we'd apply for that, maybe that'd be the route to go.
Yep, come on up. State your name.
Adam Polly with Clark Engineering. As Mr. Healy stated, if you apply for a PE grant, it has to be, and you're awarded that grant, it has to be used for that bridge that you applied on. You can't transfer it to another bridge. If you get awarded the PE grant, right now I believe it's from the award date, you have 3 years to use that funding. They're talking about extending that another year. That hasn't been approved yet. But as of right now, for the PE grants, preliminary engineering, you have 3 years from the awarded date to use that funding. For the replacement grants, the actual construction of the bridge, if you get awarded that, you have 4 years currently. And again, they're talking about increasing that 1 more year to 5 years.
So how would you recommend we proceed based on your guys' document that you had? It sounded like we needed to start moving forward.
So right now, we need the commissioners to approve the priority of what your priority is for replacement. Then we can look at how we're gonna weight restrict the bridges based on that handout that we have. We have until August 1st to apply for the PE grants. That's the next deadline. So, let's say July 1st, if you guys are looking at applying for a PE grant by July 1st, we need to know which one, and then we got the month to get that grant application ready and submitted by August 1st.
If I, correct me if I'm wrong, but really today you want an answer on prioritization because we need to get signs ordered for the bridge load limits, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So we can somewhat kick the can on some of this, but
And
we need to figure out which bridges we're going to open up.
right.
Okay. Thank you.
One thing, can you clarify, when you talk about preliminary engineering, PE, but it has
Would you go up to
nothing
the
do with
speaker,
preliminary
please?
engineering, right? A PE grant has nothing to do with preliminary engineering.
The preliminary engineering that they mean for that is the survey and hydraulics. So we survey the existing channel and we do the hydrology and hydraulics on that structure and see how big or how long we need that structure to be. And we also size the width of it or what type of structure it's going to be. At the end of that PE grant, once we have the survey done and we know the size that the structure needs to be, we have what's called a TSNL meeting with the DOT, a type, size, and location. We meet out on the bridge with the DOT. And with the preliminary hydraulics, we usually have 2 or 3 options. So one option, for instance, could be a pre-stressed girder bridge. The whole bridge is concrete. Other option is a steel girder bridge like the bridges are currently. And we'll have cost estimates for both of those. And at that TSNL, we will select what type of bridge we're going to move forward with the design of.
Okay.
We will not have a design from the PE.
Correct.
Okay.
After we have that TSNL meeting, we pick what structure we're going to move forward with. At that point, we would then apply for the replacement grant. Once we have that replacement grant, we'll move on with the actual design of the structure.
And that PE study gains us 10 points on the big score.
No, that's a hand-written,
Shovel-ready?
shovel-ready plan.
That's the shovel-ready
we
plan,
can
so
get
this is different.
We can get a big grant for the PE.
Yep, but not the
but
shovel-ready.
We could pay out of pocket for the shovel-ready actual
Okay.
plan, and then that would get get us a point.
Yeah,
Just want to make sure we're clear on
the
all these
bid ready,
studies.
the bid ready would give you the 10 extra points for the replacement grant.
Right.
Not for the PE grant.
So we got to get you a priority. When do you need that by?
Hopefully by the next commissioner meeting when we're
Okay,
here to
so
discuss
the next
it.
meeting you'll come and then you'll ask us for the priority and then that's how we're going to proceed with this?
Correct.
All right, everybody okay with that?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to continue discussions along these same lines about getting Fleeg's Bridge potentially, and maybe we have to wait for one more meeting, but Johnson Bridge, I don't believe is going to be in the runnings for any replacement anytime soon. I would like to open that up to the calculated LFR method and go to legal loads on that bridge.
Let's talk about that next meeting when those guys are here.
Okay.
If that'd work, we got to keep moving on, so we're getting behind schedule, so. Well, that all right? We'll discuss that at the next meeting. We'll go through that stuff. Okay. Anything else on Stone Church Bridge, Fleeg's Bridge? All right, next item on the agenda, Board of Adjustment. Entertain a motion to go into Board of Adjustment.
I move we go to the Board of Adjustment.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are now on a Board of Adjustment. Item 12, a variance with Curtis Oliver. Mr. Oliver here. You want to come on up and tell us about your project, sir?
We have a project going on out here by the lake. I think everybody's aware of it. The planning and zoning have done a great job, I think, as far as facts and findings, along with some CUPs listed with the project that we could work out on our permits. I think all the T's are crossed and the dots are dotted, so I don't have too much else to say about it. I hope you take their recommendation. They passed it with all the votes, so I hope you take their recommendation and push this project further on. So be happy to answer any questions if you have any about it.
How long will it be that you plan on building the houses in that facility?
We'll start right away.
That's, how long will it be?
I got floor joists sitting there in the shop right now. They got delivered today.
When it starts, when does it end?
I got a 5-year plan.
Okay, so if at the end of 5 years, if the construction isn't done, then it ceases in that facility.
Is our economy. If you know our economy, you know what I don't know. I mean, I'm going to push it as far as the economy. I don't want to, have a bunch of units sitting there empty, but as our economy allows us, we're going to keep moving forward.
Well, you always could build them in another location, couldn't you? I'm concerned about that, the looks of that, appearance of that area.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you're in construction phase, it doesn't look as neat and clean and nice as it will be when you get your finished facility out there.
Correct. We have
I don't want to be driving by in 2039 and see, well, I won't be alive then, see houses sitting outside to be sold or placed.
No, my intentions are we're going to build 8 of the tiny homes to begin with, and we sell 1, we're going to build 2 more. If we sell 2, we're going to build 4 more. Same way with the townhouses. We're going to start with 2. If we sell 1, we'll build 2 more. So it's going to progress as long as the sale goes. We got a phase 1 and phase 2 on the tiny houses, and I think you've seen that on the lots 16 and 17. So everything's phased out, so we don't have everything all tore up and all in disarray. So I mean, we want a nice, clean project. That's what we've been for.
But the whole concept is that you're going to store toys up there in this building and have an office and other
Correct.
things. And if you're building houses out there, you won't be storing toys.
No, we're not going to build them in that facility anymore.
Oh,
Nope, done deal. That's storage. We moved on from that.
okay.
We're not a storage facility. We're not a manufacturing plant. It's a storage facility for the park models.
Thank you.
That's all in facts and findings. I mean, when we went through, I'm sorry, I didn't clear that up.
Thank you.
Where are you building them then?
Let's open it up to public comment. And at this time, would anybody like to speak either for or against this project at this time? Now would be the time to do so. All right, at this time, seeing nobody wanting to speak for public comment, I'll close the public comment session. Oh, Brian, would you come and read the legal on this? Do you have that?
I don't have really anything on this.
Where's that at? We'll need to read that. You want to read?
I guess what are we down to? The variance request?
Yes.
Oh, boy. Legally described as the north half, north 150 acres, north quarter except lots 3, 5, 6. Block 1 except lots 2 through 5, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, block 2, law overlook and except tract A, law overlook. South Dakota, section 18, township 93 north, range 56 west. Hereafter referred to as Utica South Township, county of Yankton, state of South Dakota. These are legal. 911 address to be assigned, Welcome Drive, Yankton, South Dakota is the property location. And you're asking a variance of a maximum building size to provide park model, well, that's not correct then. Tenants, facility and tenant storage from 1,200 square feet to 15,000 square feet in an R2 is what the cover sheet reads.
Thank you. Did you have some questions for Mr. Oliver? Sure.
No, I was just, if you're not going to build your units in there, where are you building them?
Right on site.
Right on site,
Yeah.
okay.
And the zoning and planning too, we made part of the conditions. We had, one person was concerned that was going to become storage rental, and that was one of the conditions, is that there is no rental of storage space. That is only for the citizen, the individuals that live in there. So.
Based on the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission and the changes that Mr. Oliver has made, I move approval of the variance application.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion?
How many total units when you're totally finished with your project?
72 tiny homes and 10 townhouses.
Did you have any other questions, Mr.
No,
Swenson?
I just felt a little uncomfortable when you didn't say when you were going to have a finish date. You know, you said the 5 years, and you believe it'll be finished in 5 years.
Yeah, I hope it's a lot
Sir,
sooner.
sir, come on up to the. Yep.
Yes, I hope it's a lot sooner. I mean, that's what I stretched it out to be for financing and stuff, but like anything else, I hope it goes twice as well as I.
But you pretty well guarantee it'll be done,
Correct.
finished in 5 years?
Correct.
All complete?
Yep.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Kettering,
Yes.
Los,
Yes.
Swenson,
No.
Healy,
Yes.
Clemish.
Yes. Motion passed. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, item number 13, conditional use permit for Neil Lang. Is Mr. Lang here? Come on up, sir. Come on up, sir, and tell us about your project.
Neil Lang at RV Park, Lewis and Clark out there. I got the big building, and I can, the last couple of years since I opened it, why people would come in without campers, you know, with family and friends of people that
Mr. Johnson, could you please stop talking while this individual is talking? I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Continue, sir.
They'd come out there, and actually several people's rented motels in town, family members that didn't have campers, you know, to be with the, and I got the building, and I started 2 apartments last year thinking that it was, when I bought the property, I thought it was commercial and or residential. And I have the building permit, and I built, or actually they're both, 2 of them's done, and I could put at least 1 more in. And with Scott up there, he said with another 20 foot of drain field, I could have 4 suites or apartments in there. So that's what, that's the story, I guess.
So you'd like to put a motel, CUP for a motel that's adjoining to your current RV park?
To the park, yeah, right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody at this time care to comment either for or against the project? Now would be the time to do so. Going once, going twice, okay. Seeing and hearing no comments, I'll close the public comment session on this part. Brian, would you please read the legal description of this application?
Legal description is the northeast quarter, the northwest quarter, except parcel A, and except lots H2 through H6, and except lots 1 through 5, block 1, lots 1 through 5, block 2, and lots A1-A, A1-B, A1-C, B and C, block 3, Kaiser Overlook, north half, northeast quarter of the northwest quarter. The Lange Family Protection Trust, 118 Lakeshore Drive, Utica, South Dakota is the mailing address.
This time, does the commission have any more questions for Mr. Lang on his project?
Were there any conditions applied during the planning meeting?
There were no extra conditions applied. That he's got a nice site plan, and his septic is all size appropriate, and it's currently, there's 2.
Mr. Lang, could you come back up?
He kind of alluded to it at the beginning. There's currently 1 or 2 apartments being rented out as apartments.
Yes, right. As of right now, they're
right. But knowing now that you're in a commercial zone, you would like to
Correct.
get a CUP for a hotel. And I think the campground rules apply to this hotel as well, if I remember right. There's a list of them here: speed limits, hours, fires, things of that nature, pets. All of those rules from your RV park would apply to your
Correct.
hotel.
Correct.
I'd make a motion for approval of Mr. Lang's campground based on the findings of fact.
There's a second.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Healy,
Yes.
Most,
Yes.
Kettering,
Yes.
Swenson,
Yes.
Clemish.
Yes. Motion passed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
Entertain a motion to come out of Board of Adjustment.
So
Go back.
moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're back into regular session. Next item on the agenda, item number 14, county-owned property in Utica. Is Mayor Hoffman here? Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening. My name is Sherry Hoffman, Town Board President for the Town of Utica. I am asking for a piece of county-owned property, which has a street address of 205 First Street, I think it's in your packet, to be returned to the city of Utica. Now, there is a mobile home on that piece of land as well, and I was looking through the book from Equalization this morning for another item, and I noticed that that particular mobile home is still in the owner's name, but I want that piece of property. I've had it condemned since 2015, so I don't know how to work that piece.
I can help you. It's in the statute on what you do with abandonment. You have a 30-day window, and you gotta, if there's any taxes,
Sure.
you gotta try to sell it, if not, you destroy it.
Okay. Yeah, that is my plan. We're currently working on several different projects. We did get a home from the county last year. That, and there's another piece, a second one that I included that, according to the book again, is still in the homeowner's name, although he has been deceased since 2008. No one has lived in that house since 2016. There are quite a few holes, and we did have some major items around that house that we had to repair. I would also like that piece of property back because I'm working towards a block grant with the Bulldoze Build and Beautify. And the more, you're more likely to get that grant money, the more pieces of property you clean up. And I don't want to do it piecemeal, one at a time. I want to swoop and take all three of those, get them cleaned up, get it cleaned up and cleared up and for sale. So hopefully someone will purchase it, put a home there, and get it back in the tax roll.
So you have 3 properties you're looking at?
Actually, one we did get last year, so that one has just been cleared for us. There's 2 that I included.
These 2.
Correct.
So just to be clear, the county owns these lots.
The county owns the first one in your packet with the mobile home on it. The second one is still in the homeowner's name, and like I said, he's been deceased since 2008. From what I can see from the research I did, there's been no taxes paid since 2013, but that's only the farthest back I can see in Beacon, and that's my source. So if it's older than that, I couldn't speak to that exactly.
So Rob, how do we,
Yeah.
do we, go ahead, Patty.
Do we, for the one that they can, do we surplus it first and then transfer it?
Motion to surplus it.
And then a motion to?
Yeah, and you're transferring to another municipality, so anything you want to do, you can do. There are any terms and conditions you can give away, you can put conditions on it. You could
give it away.
We've done it before, did the same thing.
Yes. You could give it away. Just throwing that out there.
I'm just saying the rules say, but I'll help you with, it's a quiet title action, which is what we need to do with another piece of property, and I'll help you do that.
Great. Thank you, Rob. Mr. Clemish.
Do they have to do both, or just the one for sure?
Just the one, just the one. And
Right.
then the one in the future, because who will get it will be us, the county.
Okay. So just for, I'm looking at the assessed value here, it's been zeroed out since 2016. And I believe.
That's because the county owns it.
Right. So we're not collecting any taxes on it, we're actually paying somebody to go mow it.
Correct. Yes, you are. My concern was when I looked at the book this morning that there is an assessed value on the mobile home piece, and it does have a value, and is still under the owner's name. So I would have the property, in theory, if this is all approved, but not the house. So I wasn't sure how it worked out, but I understand that you'll help me with that, and I appreciate that. So that's what I'd like to do, and then work hopefully towards that third piece, because I would like to get the blocks and everything done and be ready for fall to hopefully have someone put a home on there. So we've had some interest recently about selling land there. So
So Rob, would the motion be to surplus and in theory, if we wanted to give it away, surplus and give, okay.
Or make a motion first to surplus
Okay.
and then make a
Okay.
motion.
Okay.
Parcel ID, okay? Or how did, what?
Yeah. Parcel.
Okay. So I make a motion to surplus parcel ID 67.100.007.090.
Second.
Motion and a second, further discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Healy,
Yes.
Loest,
Yes.
Swenson,
Yes.
Yes.
Kettering, Clement.
Yes, motion pass. So we'd need another motion to decide what we're going to do with it, if we want to give it away, if we want to sell it, if we want to put
How
conditions on it.
much money you got on you?
On me right now, nothing, so you'll want to be good with that number, just saying.
I make a motion to transfer property parcel ID 67.100.007.090 to Utica, the city of Utica.
Second.
For
Do you want to add a free?
No charge.
no charge? Is that fine, Rob, to say no charge on it? Okay, so did you still want to second that, Gary? Motion and a second, further discussion. I'd just like to say thank you for taking this on and put some new houses on there.
Yeah, it's going to cost a lot, but it's okay. We'll figure it out, work it out.
Motion and a second, further discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Healy,
Yes.
Loest,
Yes.
Swenson,
Yes.
Kettering, Clement.
Yes, motion passed. Congratulations.
Thank you. And we're just going to postpone the third piece until a
Yes.
later time.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Thank you. Thank you all
Thank you,
very
Ms.
much.
Hoffman. Next item on the agenda, item number 16, health insurance with Julie Auk. Is Ms. Auk here? Welcome, Ms. Auk.
Hi. How are you guys? Anxious to talk about health insurance. It's everybody's favorite topic. Whoops. I wanted to introduce myself. I'm your current health insurance agent for Yankton County employees. Got this label here. And inside of this information, on the right-hand side, is your current plan,
Thank you.
vision and dental that's offered to the employees. And then on the left-hand side are other companies that I will be proposing to you if the renewal is not acceptable by the commissioners. One more thing here. I am still waiting for renewals on the health insurance plan for the county employees. And by saying that, I've got one more piece of paper I want to hand out. This is 2018's healthcare expenses for Yankton County.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'll try to get it on one sheet so it's easier to read. And for this reason, I am anticipating an increase in premiums. If you take a peek, there were $2,179,934 worth of expenses. Of course, there's provider savings, and then the amount paid by Wellmark Blue Cross Blue Shield was $828,000, with premiums being collected of $432,000. So basically, you're in the red when it comes to premiums. So I'm anticipating an increase in premiums. And with that being said, I've informed Wellmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. I'm really expecting them to sharpen their pencil, but we are looking at quotes from other companies too. And of course, the wonderful thing about Wellmark Blue Cross Blue Shield is the network, but healthcare in South Dakota is stellar no matter where you go. So there are other options, but wanting to stress that there will be an increase. They're not probably, there will be an increase, okay?
How does that affect our employees when that goes up? I mean, is that going to be transferred to them with our
Well,
policy?
that is a decision that you, as commissioners, make. And I definitely have some suggestions for that area. When we come back with the renewals and other proposed rates, other proposed companies, there'll be definitely some options. Currently, the county pays 100% of the employee's premium, 100%. Then if they add their family, their wife, you have a 4-tier plan. You have employee, employee plus spouse, employee plus children, and then you have family. And inside your packet on the right-hand side, if you flip through, there is an actual description of the current plan. And we kind of got it's behind the well mark. Where is it? It's behind yes, there you are. And that is a 4-tier plan. And currently, the price for the employee is $618.89. And that's a $2,500 deductible plan with a max out-of-pocket of $5,000. And if you don't understand what those mean, some people just don't, and that's okay. But basically, there's a deductible of $2,500 that the employee needs to pay in major medical. And then there is a 40-60 split. 40% of the insurance is then paid by the individual and 60% is paid by the company until they hit a max out-of-pocket of $5,000. So when I'm talking to families, I always say, hey, you know, look at worst case scenario, that worst case scenario of $5,000. The other thing that is good about this plan is a $35 copay when they go to the doctor. If you have if you have children, if you use a medical facility often, those copays are important. So, and having the county pay for their premium is a huge benefit, huge benefit. So if you're wanting to split those expenses, definitely we can look at other options for sure. You can set a defined contribution. The county is going to pay $600 of the premium. If you want to buy a plan with richer benefits, then that would come out of your pocket. Those are all options that we can look at. We can also look at doing a 2-tier plan. Sometimes that saves money. And those are available with any company that you use.
So you said right now our insurance, it's paid by the county. It doesn't come out of the pocket of the employee. Is that correct?
The employees, the county employees' share is paid 100% by the county. Yes, sir. Yes. And as far as I understand, that's the way it has been for decades. Right.
And that's the way I guess me personally, I'd like to keep it. We want to have the best insurance we can have for our employees at the most savings.
You have some of the best employees here. You need to have the best benefits. I agree 100%. We also started offering vision and dental insurance this past year. That seems to be a very popular option also. And that is 100% of the responsibility of the employee, not of the county. Okay?
How many participate in those two, dental and vision?
Oh, golly. 30, 40. Okay. I knew you were going to ask that, and I didn't take a look. I just added a couple today. So total 30, 40 of them, of the 96 full-time employees. That's a pretty good ratio. It really is. Okay. So once again, I've included information in regards to Avera, and I'm working with them right now. Of course, I don't have 2019, 2020 quotes. As soon as I have those, and of course, we're going to be able to narrow down those significantly. United Healthcare, as you can see, is a new company. It just entered back into South Dakota's market in 2018. I am going to quote them also. They have not been, typically they are not less expensive, The nice thing about United Healthcare is it does have a more expanded network. Avera is an HMO, so it has a defined network. Blue Cross Blue Shield and United Healthcare has a more expanded network where you can use out-of-state facilities. Okay, so I included that also. It is an option. I'm not sure how competitive they will be, and I'm sure you're going to be looking for something competitive, but they are all options. I do promise to bring you the best plans that I can possibly bring you for the employees. I don't think it's your responsibility to worry about HSAs, FSAs, HRAs, HMOs, PPOs, max out-of-pockets deductibles. That's my job. I'll try and explain that the best I can. Are there any other questions?
When are those quotes going, are you expecting them?
I will have them for you at the March 19th meeting. I'm already been put on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay? Right, that's my understanding, yes. Okay.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you
very
very much.
welcome. Thank you for your time.
Next item on the agenda, item number 17, Fast Plat, Hatchesky Edition. Mr. Denherter, is he here? Welcome.
Do you want to hear from
No,
Brian?
I just need to talk to Brian.
Okay.
You can go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Ross Denherter, and I represent a collection of landowners here that are attempting to divide up a parcel of property. In particular, you're looking at a plat of a quarter of ground in which the center line is not going to be the center of the property. There's more land included, and as a result, to divide up this land, the center line of the property is about 25 acres to the east of where the center of the quarter is. So as a result, we have to go through the minor plat process pursuant to the subdivision ordinance. I have obtained the approval of Mr. McGinnis, and I'm not aware of any issues. I'm confident that it complies with your subdivision ordinance.
What township is this in?
I have no idea. It's northeast.
Utica North or South?
Yeah.
Utica North. Utica North, okay.
731.
It should be readily identifiable because the northern 10 acres has, the roadway is kind of carved into that. The roadway jogs to the south and encroaches on this property. Essentially, it's just the division of a field.
Any other questions from any of the commissioners?
I think so. Looks like
Nope.
signatures there.
Would entertain a motion.
I spoke briefly with Brian on this, and it looks like everything is in order. So I would, I'd make a motion to approve the plat subdivision, Lot 1, Hatchesky Edition. What are we calling this? I'll just call it the subdivision of the northwest quarter, section 31, township 94 north, range 56 west.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Levy,
Yes.
Lowe's,
Yes.
Kettering,
Yes.
Swenson,
Yes.
Clemish,
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Motion passed. Yeah, thank you. Next item on the agenda, item 18, ditch board. Entertain a motion to go into ditch board.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? We are now in ditch board. Item number 18, drainage way and maintenance of the Yankton clay ditches. Is Mr. Nelson here? Yep. Welcome.
Yeah, good afternoon or evening. One thing I failed to put into your packet, or when I submit information, is where these maps or where these ditches are at. Are we aware? Do you want a copy?
If you got one handy, I'll
Yeah,
take it, but yeah.
absolutely.
Is this what? Pardon?
First one here is the Yankton clay ditch #2.
Thank you.
And what I highlighted is off the southwest corner of Gayville. There's a blue ditch or blue line that delineates what we're discussing.
Okay.
Thank you. And the second one is the Yankton clay ditch, which is located. Sure. I got one.
Thank
The part we're looking at cleaning is west of Bayville, which is west of the ditch #2 by about a half a mile.
And this is the Yankton clay.
Yeah, that's
this one.
Yankton clay.
Okay.
So we got two different projects going here. For some reason, I was designated speaker, so that's why I'm here. So, so what we're looking at let's just discuss Yankton clay ditch #2, the one that's south and west of Gayville, from southwest of Gayville, south of the railroad, down to New Highway 50. Last fall, we reorganized the ditch board there. I shouldn't say reorganized, re-energized it, got a local board going. There was money sitting there, but there hadn't been a meeting for quite a few years. I believe it was in 2012, there was a project underneath the town of Gayville where they replaced a 36-inch culvert that goes from the southeast corner to the southwest corner of Gayville. And the drainage district there is really, it's sort of small in the whole scheme of it, how many acres are enrolled in it and the dollars come in. But if you farm in that neighborhood and you experience 13-inch rain in a week, it was significant. You know, pretty much everybody in there got wiped out. So the dollars were there based on talking with Patty as far as to do some maintenance. We got the ditch board going again, or the local board down at Gayville. Submitted some different application requests for some bids for cleaning out from the southeast corner of Gayville and going north all the way up to the top end of that ditch. We got that business done last fall. It helped a ton down there, but where the problem lies now as far as the next leg that has issues is from the railroad southwest of Gayville, where it comes through underneath the railroad and goes down to New Highway 50. We're guessing it's been 20 years or better since that's been cleaned out, and general consensus is it's growing up in grass. It's acting like a catch basin, catching a lot of sediment there, and we're not getting the flow. The culvert replacement is right there where town of Gayville accesses their lagoons. There's a 12-inch culvert. We'd like to replace that, take up to a 36, because that's acting as a chokehold right there. When it comes out of the big culvert underneath town of Gayville, goes underneath the railroad trestle bridge there. We got plenty of capacity there, but then we go through a 12-inch, which is not working. So to replace that and then clean out that ditch down to New Highway 50. We had two different bids that come to play on it. Plumbing Electric Service, you see they submitted a bid, and also had Fimer Construction was the only other one that's willing to come take a look at it. And if you look at the bids, Yankton, for Yankton Clay Ditch number 2 there, Fimer Construction, they came in around $8,750, and Plumbing Electric came in at $4,150. To my knowledge, and Patty, you can correct me, I think there's about $8,100 that's usable in that account that still leaves an adequate amount of money to service the debt for that culvert going into the town of Gayville. The local board, they made a resolution to go with Plumbing Electric as their recommendation, so we're just looking to move it forward here.
Move approval of the bid to clean the ditch for, what is it, clay number 2, Yankton clay number 2.
Do you need to name which one? Because there was 2 bids. For the amount.
For the amount by Plumbing and Electric Service.
What was that?
$41.50.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Healy,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Swenson.
Yes.
Kettering.
Yes.
Clement.
Yes. Motion passed.
Okay. Next one?
Did you have another one that you?
Yes. Yeah, the next project sort of stemmed from the meeting of the Yankton Clay Ditch number 2. A lot of the same landowners also own land in the Yankton Clay Ditch. And as I said, delineated out the area of concern with that blue line. There, the very top end of that, north of Old Highway 50 on 451 there, is where that drainage ditch actually starts at the blue line. Are you seeing it there, Sherry?
I'm looking at 2 maps here. I'm confusing myself, I think. Yeah, I've got that
Okay.
map. Which section are you talking about again? Start again.
Yeah, so in the map that has a very large or long blue line in it there, let's see. Yeah.
Yep.
So very top left corner up
Okay,
there.
gotcha.
That's where that drainage district actually starts up in that guy's building site a little bit to the north. And for all practical purposes, starting there a little bit south and following that all the way across, all the way down to New Highway 50. Once again, everyone that's north of the railroad tracks there, the railroad tracks sort of go at a slight angle there from the northwest to the southeast. But everything up to the north there, it's very, very flat. You know, I did some LiDAR maps on that. And if you can get a foot a mile, you're doing pretty darn good. It's just pathetically flat. Once again, the locals there, Erickson Biofarms is the majority landowner of that north of the railroad tracks. And they're guessing it's once again been 20 years since there's been any significant maintenance done on it there. And where the struggle is on that ditch as well is it's so flat, wherever there's field openings or where guys cut into it to where they'll let the water go in, erosion, sedimentation, you get these little turtles of dirt sitting there. And when you only have a foot on a mile, a 6-inch berm there pretty much kills any flow on it. And so, you know, you sit there and watch it like this after we got first round of rain and it just doesn't move. So, and then we get to south of the railroad tracks, there's some trees that are growing up in it, trees that are falling in the bottom of the ditch. Then once you get on New Highway 50, it gets some depth to it, it gets some flow, and we don't have the problems. So once again, went and had 2 different contractors take a look at it there. Plumbing Electric Service and it's about 18,000 foot of ditch to take out the trees and basically find the bottom again. We can't go any deeper because it's flat, but just find the bottom again of the ditch. They proposed a bid of $18,500, and Fimer Construction out of Yankton, they also took a look at it and came in a bid of $27,000. Plumbing Electric also did the work for Yankton Clay Ditch number 2 last fall. Everybody was tickled pink with the work they did. They're on it. So what we're looking for, based on last fall, we did a culvert replacement on this Yankton Clay Ditch up in the north end. We had a failed culvert up there which was impeding flow, and
what I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, Patty, there should be adequate money to do maintenance on that side of it, so.
There's enough money in there.
Okay, so looking for approval to do some maintenance on this ditch for 18,500 feet. The only qualifier that might come into play on this is Erickson By Farms, who's majority landowner within that. They're concerned about the tree aspect. You know, you go south of the tracks, we have a lot of tree work to do there, and they might prefer to wait and do that part this fall, but if it has to happen this spring, they're okay with it. And the contractor said we would only bid for what we get done. And, you know, as long as it's a whole lump bid, we come back and fish in the fall if that's what, they want to get along with everybody. So that's the only oddity to this, if there was one.
Okay, the question I have is that it gets a little confusing. There's Yankton Clay number 2, and that is a board that resides in Yankton County.
Correct.
Now, this is on here, well, on one of these, it's stated as Yankton Clay Ditch number 1. Is that accurate, or is it just Yankton Clay? And then is there a board that resides in Yankton County, or is this our partnership with Clay County?
That one there, as I understand it, because you got the Yankton Clay Ditch, which is the north ditch, correct?
Yes, and we're only levying for, we're not levying for Yankton Clay 1.
Right.
We're levying for just a Yankton Clay, and then Yankton Clay number 2.
Right.
Okay.
So
is there a separate board for Yankton Clay for this?
yeah,
Western?
yeah, there is no local board on that ditch there. You know, I think that goes back to Yankton Clay. You know, sort of I want to say it's a joint by the county commissions on both ends.
Right.
So.
I guess the question I have, and Patty, you might know, because we had that meeting a couple weeks ago, and some of this might overlap, but I don't know that we can operate outside of that board to approve spending.
Go ahead.
You probably should have come to when we met at McLean, but it is okay for them to approve it now because it will be approved next year. The claim and
okay.
And
we have our own funds. Clay County has their own funds. We have our own funds, but we do operate together. And that was my concern, I guess, is if we can act outside of that meeting.
Yeah, because the way it was conveyed to me last fall when we did that culvert replacement, because that was a concern of mine too, because you know, the water does no boundaries as far as the county line goes.
Right.
And that's where that request came into play there. If a landowner requests that there's maintenance done, that they've got a grievance with it, that can be brought to the county commission and acted on by the county commission. It does, you know, you don't have to wait clear around to the next year or to that meeting that just passed, is the way I understand it.
Okay.
Is that correct, Patty?
It'll be as long as the board here is convened under the ditch and makes that decision under that, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, the next thing is resulting from that meeting, the board approved, let's see, that's the wrong one. Approved clean out from the Yankton County line 1.5 miles west. And we need to get bids for that. And they also approved, oh, that's the Clay Creek. They also approved where the ball and lateral one joins Clay Creek, that needs to be bid. And so my only concern is, and I think there's plenty of funds, but we probably need to just make sure that there's funding for what was approved at that meeting before we go forward with this.
Yeah, because there's what, $100 and some thousand, if I remember correctly?
110,870.
Right.
So I would think we're covered on that 1.5 miles, but.
Yeah, because one of the landowners that signed on that, the By Farms there, he made comment, there's a couple little spots there south of New Highway 50. He says it wouldn't take much. He said, you know, extend a hoe, you know, it wouldn't, you know, a couple hours would take care of a lot of problems, and that did. She said, the whole thing doesn't need to be this spot. He said, but going north, he says it just needs it, so.
Okay. And on that note, do you want to get bids for the rest of that clean out?
Yeah, I certainly could.
You seem to be the point man on
Yeah,
that.
yep. Well, like I say, I've been completely impressed with the job that guys out of Harrington did. They came, they got it done, and actually they stayed up here for about a week and a half later. For private guys, were so pleased with the job they did. They just kept on swinging, so it's pretty neat. So
you need a motion to approve for, what is this, ditch number? Yankton Clay ditch. Okay. In the amount, and you're going to go with plumbing and electric service again for
I guess
$18,500.
capable and price. I think they deserve it. So
Entertain a motion.
I move to approve the bid to clean out the Yankton Clay ditch, 18,300 foot, from plumbing and electric service for the price of $18,500.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Lowe?
Yes.
Eby?
Yes.
Swanson?
Yes.
Ketterling?
Yes.
Clem?
Yes. Motion passed. Thank you very much. Yep. Entertain a motion to go back into regular session.
Mr. Chairman.
All right. Go ahead.
While we're in ditch board, I think do we need a motion to get bids for what was?
You can't, yeah, you can.
Okay.
Was Chris,
And I can get with him afterwards, but pursuant to the Yankton Clay ditch board meeting, I make a motion to get bids to clean the 1.5 miles from county line.
We probably don't need a motion for that. We probably just tell you to do it, and then we'll approve it.
Okay.
Is that
you can
correct?
approve that, Chris getting the bid, and then we'll go into the ditch board if
Okay.
or whenever we get the.
Okay.
So just go ahead and get the bids, and then we'll
Okay,
approve.
we'll get bids and bring those back.
Okay. Is there anything else before we go into regular session? Entertain a motion to go into regular session.
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are back into regular session. Next item on the agenda, item number 20, discussing on personnel HR manager position. Sherry, did you want to take this one?
Yeah, I'll start. I had a meeting with our city administrator talking about the potential to possibly share an HR person with them. She was going to talk to the city commissioners, but in her thoughts, she felt maybe their person was at their max capacity. So if we would proceed down that lines, most likely we would have to hire a second person anyway. So really, would that be an advantage for the county or not is still part of the discussion. I also had a chance, I guess, Mr. Healy and I had a chance to talk to the Clay County Commissioners about how they handle HR issues, and they have just entered into an agreement with a consulting firm out of Sioux Falls. I did make a call to them today to ask what services they provide, explain to them some of the needs that we have identified that we feel would be advantageous for the county to take on. The gentleman is going to get together a list of items that they could help us with. Right now, he said over in Clay, they are going to come in and essentially do an audit, an initial audit to see is the training getting done, are the employees' needs being met, things like that. How can they, for an employee handbook, those types of things are in the works right now. So could I ask the Clay County Commissioners what they thought of it right now? No, because they have just entered into this agreement. I think the other thing we need to consider long-term is Yankton County sits between two other counties who right now don't have HR people on staff. And I think we need to start thinking about, would it be a better avenue for Yankton County to take on an HR person and share that person with Bonhomme and Clay? Because Clay is not, if they're consulting services right now, they are not committed to hiring on an HR person. And if anybody searches HR jobs online, they're not cheap. If you're going to get a good person, and I think in HR, if you're going to go down that path, you need to hire somebody worth their salt. You're looking north of $65,000, up in the 80s, depending on the type of person that you hire, what kind of experience they have. So I think we need to start having that long-term discussion and visiting with Bonhomme and Clay, and I have not done that yet. But if we had someone in our government center and 1 or 2 days a week they go east or west, we have someone here for our employees to consult. And I think right now, as we look through, we have a pretty good handbook. That's another thing on my list is I've already had discussions with District 3. We need to update our handbook. I think the last time was 2005. And laws change. And I'm sure there are things in there that we may be overlooking at this point. So again, that's part of the discussion long term of the path that we take on this. But I think it would behoove us if we could do 3 counties together, that $80,000 person who is worth a lot of resource to all of our employees, we can split the cost with counties to the left and counties to the right. And I am perfectly happy making those phone calls and inquiring. In the meantime, until we can have those discussions, possibly having a consultant come in and just be a resource for our people. I think, again, we have a pretty good employee handbook, but I think one of the things we're missing is someone that every employee feels comfortable approaching about issues, whether they're personal issues, whether it's an issue with your boss, whether it's an issue with your coworker, just a third-party person to be there. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Everyone is welcome to jump in the conversation at this point. Don, I know you've done a lot of late work in this area, and you know the dollar figures around an HR person very well.
Yeah, I found the same range, 65 to 90, and maybe even 100, if you get a really talented, qualified one. One thing that I did run into, which would maybe challenge us, but with going together with the 3, is they said usually they tap out at about 100 to 110 employees. But we would have duplicate functions in almost every area of operations, so I would think that lots of things could be consistent.
Don, when we started talking about this about a year or 2 ago, there was talk of HR, there was talk of like a county manager position or administrator. Did that go anywhere?
County manager?
I mean, what was the consensus there? We just need HR, or it would be nice to have more of a county administrator? Or?
Well, it's all money.
Yeah.
And would that county manager or administrator, would they act as HR as well, or would we still need if we went that path, would we still need a
I think
HR
with the
person?
challenges in the court system and the many things that can arise out of conflict, we need somebody that has HR training and skills, and I would put a higher priority on the HR person than the county manager at this point in time.
Okay.
Now maybe if we really got gutsy and someday merged 3 counties, or 4 or 5, you could probably get all kinds of efficiencies. But that too will take place after I'm dead.
What about trying to get an existing employee, some basic training in HR, where we would have the, I think sharing sharing an HR person is like you said, Joe, sharing a boat. Everybody wants it at the same, the same time. Could we look into maybe doing at least a basic HR training for some of the personnel here? I don't know what the cost of that would be. We could definitely look into it. And for the more complex things, maybe then use a consultant or something else. I don't know. I think we should just maybe look into a few different approaches. Is there any type of certification somebody can go to for HR? Are you aware of that, Sherry?
I didn't look up anything online. I'm sure there are courses that a person can take to get up to speed, especially on the legal. Where do you have to have your minimum wage things posted? Do you have to train for slips, trips, and falls every year? Is that an OSHA requirement? Things like that. When you get so big, you start having to train those things. Hazardous chemicals and such, depending on your workplace, etc.
So did you just want to look into this some more and present it again, or what?
Yeah, I'll keep making phone calls and such, and at the next commission meeting. So put that on the agenda for the next commission meeting, because I'll know more.
Okay.
And it might be worth it to have someone come in and audit us from the outside and say, what do you have now, what don't you have, and these are easy things we can address ourselves, and these are the things that we're pretty challenged with. So sometimes it's identifying the problem before you charge forward and try to solve what you don't know, if that makes sense.
Right. Well, on that note, I mean, somebody could look at the whole organization and we
pay.
Might want to make some drastic changes.
And the wage scale is another one that needs to be tackled, and that will be after all the districts in South Dakota are doing their wage scale analysis, and that kind of gives us a ballpark. But again, you need someone to pull all the data together and compare where are we at compared to everybody else. So,
okay. Anything else on that topic? We'll address it next meeting. Everybody okay with that? Next meeting we'll bring it up again?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Next item on the agenda, 20A. Sherry, I wrote down 20A, but I forgot what you said there.
All right, so I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting that Lori Mackey presented her yearly equalization report, which we never officially approved. So I think it would be wise of us to make a motion and approve that at this time. So I move to accept Lori Mackey's yearly equalization report that was presented at the previous commission meeting.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion pass.
And
Next.
then the last thing with that was, I did meet with them just before this meeting, and the appeals process, we need to set a date in April because it has to happen before the end of April, and they have suggested Monday, April 15, or Wednesday, April 17. In the past, they have started with lunch at 11:30, and then the appeals process begins at 12:30 with the city and the school board. And then after we go through that, then the city and the school board leaves, and then the county commission finishes the appeal process. So depending on how many appeals, it might be an hour, it might be 5 hours. They won't know that until, I think, April 5th time frame.
What were the two dates you suggested?
15 or 17, it's a Monday or a Wednesday.
They both fit my schedule, so.
I can do either one.
Do you want to?
15th is tax day.
Survey now.
Yeah, I mean, they're just looking, those were the two dates that they said fit their schedule because that Friday is Good Friday, so we can't do it on a normal Friday.
Did you want to decide that today, or did you?
Yes,
want to do it
I think we need to get it on the calendar because she needs to let the school board members know and the city folks know as well. So if there's a preference between those, if you don't want to do it on tax day, I know everybody's going to be filing taxes on the 15th. If you want to do it Wednesday the 17th?
It's fine with me.
Fine. Gary?
That's fine.
Either one's fine for me.
All right, I will let them know that the 17th will be our tentative date.
Do we need a motion for that? No, okay. All right, 17th.
Thank you.
Got it. Next item on the agenda, item number 21, advertise for key employee. Don.
Rob and I are going to tackle this one together.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, our first HR question. So what the question we have is, pursuant to the Yankton County Handbook, what do we do if an employee's on leave? And what I did was I gave you a copy of the employee handbook. It's kind of not necessarily a two-pronged test, but say we want to fill the position. What do we do? The first thing, so if we have an individual who's on leave, and if we want to open that position, and we want somebody to fill that position, then there's a couple of things we can look at. One is if the individual comes back and there's another similar position that the individual can be put into under the same pay and the same benefits, then that's acceptable. It's acceptable under our handbook, and it's acceptable under the federal laws on how you put that together. The other thing is, and they can also be together, so I'm not saying they have to be one without the other, but in our handbook it states in there a designation, and if we designate the individual as a key employee, and if you look at what I gave you, I kind of blued it a little bit, and it's in our handbook, and the definition of a key employee under our handbook is the person or the position is the highest paid 10% of the workforce. That's the one prong you got to look at. And then the second prong is substantial economic loss to Yankton County. And so you have to look at both prongs if you're going to designate the position as a key employee. The federal law puts it a little higher standard, which in my opinion we have to follow. It talks about grievous economic penalty or that occurs to the county, and it's at the time the individual is brought back is when you look at that. So if we're looking under this case specifically, we're looking under the zoning administrator and what to do and how to handle that position into the future. So we do have the code enforcement is another individual I know we're thinking of hiring, and so I mean I know that's an option, or when I say the same, like in the same position with the same benefits or a similar position with the same benefits, that would fall underneath the our leave policy, and then it does follow underneath the federal law on when people take leaves and making sure you're in compliance with the leave policy. Under our handbook, and again under federal law, it does follow the same key employee designation. So if an individual does take a leave and they're designated as a key employee and they fall underneath the definition I was telling you, the 10% and the substantial or grievous harm to the county, then that position can be filled immediately. That's what that means regarding how it's set up. So I know talking to Don, that was the question on what we were going to do or what the county was going to think through. And I did tell Don maybe I better get up and just make a couple comments for the commission to kind of talk through on what a plan would be, if anything. And maybe there's no plan, but those are the couple things you need to think through. Any questions of me? As your human resource director?
Seems to me in the second one, at least, I didn't go check the salary to see if he was in the top 10%, but in the second, it's a position that you know, our citizens need that service, and we just can't be pushing it off and leaving it undone. So I think it really is a grievous loss if we don't fill a position and serve the customer.
And Don, and I know, and it's something the county needs to talk through and kind of figure out where you guys want to go as a county commission. But that would be the question, is the highest 10%. I do believe that position does fall underneath that definition, so I don't think that's the question. I know, Don, I think that's what you're saying. And then the second prong, whether it fits underneath that second prong, and I mean, today's a good example of, you know, how many people rely upon that office and how that office does have a lot of bearing economically and just getting things done in the county. So
we need to first designate that position as a key position. That would be the first step.
You could designate as a key position, yeah.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Joe Wood. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say it's costing us $65 an hour plus $40 an hour in clerical work right now. So I think we're certainly seeing that grievous financial loss, not to mention the headaches and delays in our permitting process that people are seeing. I was up in the office the other day with Brian, getting him going, and there's, you know, a litany of emails and phone messages and people that have permits that they're wondering where they're at and what's going on. And so not only are we losing dollars on those permits, but then we're also paying out to fill his position by contract right now, so.
And like I said, it's a two-pronged test too, because the answer could be one and both of the same. You can designate that position as a key employee. In addition, if the individual who leaves the position and wants to come back, and even though that position is filled, if there's a similar position with the same benefits, you're still within the provisions of the policy, you know, in our handbook and also the federal law too. So.
And I think in our discussion, you and I, at least we thought that it would be appropriate to have Pat have an opportunity to come back when he comes off leave. So
yeah, and done. Yeah, that would be true. Yeah. Yes.
Based on that, I'd make a motion. I move that Yankton County hire a Yankton County zoning administrator, as the current administrator is on indefinite leave, and either his position is a key employee as defined by the Yankton County Employee Manual and the Family and Medical Leave Act, or he would have an equivalent position available if he returns with the same benefits, working conditions, and I further move that the position be immediately posted and remain posted until filled.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Kettering?
Yes.
Lowe's?
Yes.
Swenson?
Yes.
Healy?
Yes.
Clemish?
Yes. Motion passed. Next item on the agenda, item number 22, commissioner updates. Any of the commissioners have any updates they'd like to discuss now?
Yes. I think it was the February 19th meeting, and I believe it was Mrs. Williams who got up and asked that, she asked the question, were we giving as much scrutiny to the entire website as we were to the Planning Commission page? So I went out and reviewed all the website, and I checked out all the links, and I did find a few things. For example, Tordon 22K MSDS had moved, so the link no longer worked. So we are going through and fixing what few things that we did find. There was, let me see, I want to get it right, the Yankton County Commission agenda policy, which we changed in January to include 2 public comments, so that has been added to the document. And we changed a couple other minor things on that document. But overall, the website looked pretty good, but I just wanted to relay to everyone that that concern was followed up on, and we are addressing all of the minor things that we did find. At the last meeting, must have been the 28th, February 28th, there was a statement made, and where's my document? A statement made about a horse stable, that a riding stable that didn't need a CUP. So I went through some documents from the Planning Commission and the County Commission from 2008. So I'm just going to read this. Moved by Holst, seconded by Schultz, pursuant to Section 1805, 1-5 of the Yankton County Zoning Ordinance, to recommend approval of a conditional use permit for a Class F animal feeding operation on property legally described as, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's out on Highway 52, Section 19, Township 94, Range 56. They had some conditions listed here. Riding stables were part of the conditional use. They don't list the animal units here. That'll be on the next one. There was some issues with putting in shielding for lighting in bathrooms and such. Roll call vote, all members voting aye, 9-0. At the County Commission on March 4th, 2008, a motion was made by Jensen, seconded by Tamasia, forgive me if I didn't pronounce that right, to approve a conditional use permit with conditions to allow the operation of 100 animal unit, 50 horse maximum AFO for use as riding stables, equestrian breeding, training, and boarding facility. And again, I'm not going to read the legal description, but that was pursuant to section 1905, 1 through 6. There may be another example of one they did not approve, but this was an example of a horse unit that was approved as a Class F stable CUP. So I did want to mention that because it was asked at our last commission meeting. So that's all I had.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We got commission updates right now. Did you have anything, Joe?
I do, Mr. Chairman. Tentatively, we are looking at visiting Mayfield on the 16th.
Yes.
March 16th at 2:30. Look for updates. We need to confirm with the manager of the site, but that's what we're tentatively scheduling.
Gary or Don, did you have any updates you'd like to talk about now? Anything? I guess one thing I'd like to talk about is anybody planning on going to the emergency management meeting tomorrow at 11:30? I know I was planning on attending. Anybody else?
I'm going to a CAFO meeting in here tomorrow.
Okay. So anybody else? So I guess I'll go and I'll report on that.
You need somebody else in.
If you want to come with at 11:30.
The two of us, I'll come.
Okay. Yeah.
11:30?
Yeah, so nobody else is going. Okay, so Gary and I will go that tomorrow. Any other updates from any of the commissioners? All right, next item on the agenda, public comment. We grabbed it. Is there another sheet up there where you grab it? I did have Patty Davies wrote down. You don't want to do that? All right.
There are none.
There are none. Public comment?
Very brief.
Did you? Come on up. You have 3 minutes. State your name.
You're going to get 30 seconds. Thank you, and I stand corrected.
Anybody else like to make a public comment at this time? All right. Did you want to make? No, I saw you do this. I didn't know if you.
Do you want an update?
Yeah, why don't you come up and tell us about the hours that you're open? Do you have those available?
What I've done, anything?
Yeah, if you want to give us a brief overview of that and just the hours that the office is open as of right now.
Well, good evening. I've so far yesterday I showed up. Let's see, what day is it? Tuesday. Showed up for 3 hours. It was 7.5. So we spent most of the day going over drainage ordinances. Did find some things in the book that I think, based on the ordinance, we're going to streamline the process a little bit and follow the ordinance as it's written. There's no need to send a lot of people through the process of seeing all of you, nor see the Draining Commission. If it drains into Blue Line Stream, or if they get approval of their people up and down and no written comments within 10 days, they don't need to come see you. And so I've found the ordinance and looks like something I've written years ago. And so I've advised these people, if you get your letters out, get this, we see new written comments, don't come back. You know, I don't know why you need to come back, and I think they were happy with that. Well, they seemed pretty happy with that. I don't know at the time. So today I came in 1 o'clock, went through this, tried to get through all the phone messages, called most of them here right up to meeting time to get back to them. I think we've got most of them satisfied except for those that are working in offices. We've got those taken care of. I think I'll try to get most of those tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be in at 9. Try to work 9 to 3, squeeze a lunch in, get most of them caught up. There is some confusion on some things as far as getting in order and finding materials, but we'll try to get, Joe was helping me the other day trying to find simple documents and things like that, and hopefully I'll get a big enough grasp tomorrow that I can enlist the help of some individuals from both Patties have offered some people to help as far as do some more clerical type work to keep it going. But for the most part, plats have done. I noticed some things on the plats that I did tonight on the one we've rewritten to where I don't feel comfortable signing a plat on behalf of the Planning Commission chairman. So I rewrote it in accordance to the county according to the ordinance. So that was executed tonight, and some other things just to make sure, because as a temporary employee, I want to do things as close to the vest as possible, just to make sure it's all legal in that aspect. But hopefully, and then tomorrow I'll see where I'm caught up on, and then set office hours for the next week, and keep that going as we move forward. But I mean, if people have questions, just have them call. I'm still figuring out the email and the phone system and everything like that, but we're getting there. I think hopefully I'll have all the phone calls answered by tomorrow, hopefully by noon, and all the emails have been answered, so we're catching up.
We appreciate your hard work on that, Brian. Thank you.
Do our best, so thank you.
Thank you, Brian. And just another note on that, for public, emails can still go to Pat Garrity, and they will get to Brian. So if the office is closed or no one's answering the phone, feel free to send an email, and Brian will get back to you when he's back in the office.
Appreciate it.
Joe, are we going to meet November 12th or not?
Let's talk about that offline. Is there anybody else who'd like to make a public comment at this time? All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the public comment session. Items for next meeting. HR, correct? What else did you want to add for next meeting?
Bridge discussion, correct?
We're going to have the bridge discussion.
The bridge and the paver machine that Mike proposed we purchase for $40,000. We need to discuss that. So include legal loads with the bridges.
Gary or Don, did you have anything you wanted to add for next meeting?
The deadline on the health insurance?
March 19th,
She's
Ms.
already on
Alk
the
will
agenda.
be back.
She's already on the agenda.
The HR person needs to be on there. And we'll have an update from our first town hall meeting. Correct?
Correct.
Jody?
So-
Okay.
What date is it? March 19th?
March 19th is our next meeting.
Okay, yeah, I've got an update. I won't be there.
Did you?
I'll be out of town.
Okay. All right, and if there's nothing else, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion and a second, further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passed. Thank you, everybody, for attending.